I I've been learning so much from you in just this short amount of time, and this has been a fascinating conversation. I wanted to end this particular conversation with perhaps I don't know if controversial is the right adjective, but a question that I have to ask, given the climate that we're in, not just right now, but have been for at least 50, 100, a few centuries, years, a few centuries. How does How do we spread the message of permaculture? How do we bring more people into living in a permaculture way when the global mode of being or existing, for at least for the people who control most of our resources, is unbridled profit making? So for my assumption is, and sometimes I think it's borne out, is that for those kinds of people, a permaculture system is not really appealing because you can't really profit off of it, right? The whole premise of being able to make profit is to be able to exploit nature and humans instead of living in a way that's one planet and living in a way that's sustainable. So, how do you envision, having been in this for decades, how do we shift the thinking of the people who are perhaps preventing us from living in these ways on a large scale? Not to end with the most difficult question on earth.
No, no, no. I've thought about this a lot, so I love that you've asked this. I have a theory of change, and part of that is about saying, like, here's what, when I was doing the activism, I was trying to fight the ones that were controlling the logging or fight the ones that were doing that. And part of the shift that happened was saying, that's this group of people who are doing that, but there's this whole world of other people, and this world of other people and other thinking creates a context that either enables that or disables that. And so instead of trying to fight directly, that is shifting what's going on in the context. And so also providing possibilities that there is alternatives, like until you know that there's different ways of doing things and you can see it and feel it and taste it and touch it, it's like, it's like, oh, well, I need timber. Well, we're going to have that, rather than going, oh, we could have community managed commons of woodlots. Like, oh, is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. Like, that's possible. Like, so really trying to amplify the possibilities. And this is kind of really so creating the possibilities, living out the possibilities, testing it, failing it, trying it, doing it again, asking other people, like, well, what are you doing over there in India about this? Or what are you doing over here in UK about this? Like, really trying to share that. And so it's part of the theory of change is this idea of myceliation. So rather than trying to knock off the top that's preventing it, it's adding compost to the soil and enabling these myriad of small scale solutions to spread far and wide and to connect in an often unseen weave. So it feels like there's not that much happening, but you scratch the surface anywhere around the world and you'll find people who care, who are doing something really interesting, who are teaching the next person along. And so it's really like this people to people. So we're myceliating this change. And every now and then you'll see like the mushroom emerging, and that's like that could be a Krista Waters, or that could be, one of the Five Becomings project that becomes visible because it has a face to the world. And that then represents all of the other stuff that's going on. And what that does, like every single person who's involved in that might have a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, an uncle who's involved in an extractive system who then gets touched by seeing there's another way possible, not trying to convince them and say you've got to stop, 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 stop. Like, we of course we need to resist, like that's part of it, but we also need to create and myceliate the alternatives, and to share those in such a positive, attractive way that people go, oh, actually that looks really good over there, I like that. So my intent always for sharing this work is for doing it in such a warm, gentle, welcoming, accommodating way that doesn't say like, well, you can only come over here if you do it like this, and this. It's like, well, no thanks, I'm going to go away from that. It's like anyone at any stage, in any like if you're just beginning in this, like, yeah, sure, like I'll show you this bit or that bit, and trying to find the point of connection where people, it's like some people might come in and they're school teachers and they want to be able to share this work with their students. They have no idea. So not to feel embarrassed by coming and saying, I don't know what I'm doing, well, welcome, or if you're an architect and you really want to be designing ecological design buildings and settlements, oh, great, welcome. Come and have a look and like see what you think of these principles and adapt and apply it. So really what it's like, what I try and hold in this space is a place where you can come and play to adapt what you're doing, put a new lens on what you're doing to be able to shape it differently. So, to go off and design a human settlement or go off and create an education system or, be a health advisor but with a different frame of reference. And then as those talk across the different, because it doesn't matter who you are, you can come in, there's like you start to cross fertilize between the different fields and you realize that it's actually far larger than just your little thread. And so opening the conversations, and that's why I host, all these different global conversations all the time, like from film clubs to masterclasses to just conversations to, and then sharing out stories through podcasts and YouTubes and opening up the space. As opening up spaces in community gardens, like that are visibly public, open up spaces in eco villages where people could come, opening up spaces on the digital space. It's like, there's this other, there is another world that's possible. It's not a different world. It's not a hippie world. It's just actually an ecological way of thinking about how we can live that is going to help to repair the damage that's done and create the conditions that life can thrive, that you can thrive, that your family can thrive, and that all life is able to thrive as much as possible. And so it shifts the conversation and brings it back into local communities, building local resilience and finding the resources with what they have, where they are, with what they can do now. And it's really enabling and empowering. And that's kind of my theory of change, of not trying to spend my energy battling that, but creating the possibilities where most people are actually in it. Most people care. Most people really want to find something to do that's really meaningful and purposeful. And I really totally believe like we can get caught up with, the media conversations that, everything's really bad and people don't care and, people are really mean. But in fact, I think most people wherever you go in the world, and I've had the chance to travel so many different places doing this work, like people are amazing, absolutely incredible. Like, yes, there's there's violence and there's problems in the world, but like when you talk to people in communities, I think that it's the scale of solution that we look for that makes the possibilities become visible. When we try and think of it so big, we get overwhelmed. But when we bring it back into something that is something that has like a boundary or a membrane around that, we go, yeah, I can get that. I understand that. It may be your family, it may be your neighborhood, maybe your school, maybe your organization, maybe your bioregion, like, and you might grow into it as well over time. You might start with one and then realize, oh yeah, I like this, or I have the capacity. And then you keep moving into different things. And each time you do something, it's not a separate little entity. Like that one little seed might be seen by someone else that then just like one seed from a mustard plant creates 10,000 seeds, or, like it's exponential, the possibilities by just creating a beautiful wholeness in what you have the capacity to do. That's my theory.
I I love your imagery of the mycelium where there's this hidden, interconnected, interwoven matrix underneath, just underneath the surface, but there, and then occasionally a mushroom pops up and you can see it. I love this imagery. Morag, I have had the fortune of actually meeting you in person, and you really do exude the joy and the optimism. And thank you so much for bringing it today to Earth. And I hope to have many more conversations with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kathleen.